Okay, welcome back, and this is our bug out bag. And again, let's talk about this. For bugging out, you have to have a situation that you're going to leave your home. Your home is where you have all your stuff. It is protected. So unless something violates the integrity of your home's ability to protect you, like say tornado goes through, fire goes through, chemical spill, I would stay home. Have all this stuff packed up because you can still use it if the power goes out and stuff. You can just grab your kit and camp out in the living room. You want to be able to have everything easy to find if you need to in case of some kind of minor disaster. But also have it ready so that you quickly can gather up items and leave your home. Now, depending on how bad things are, you might just be throwing things into your car and leaving. You want to be able to carry it if you have to, but quite honestly, who's going to want to walk for any distance, and where are you going to walk to? You're not going to walk out of the range of a hurricane or a tornado. So have things ready to throw into a car and leave in an area of danger so you can get to an area of safety. And have that area of safety figured out ahead of time. And there's a whole school of thought on that and how drastic you want to get on that, whether it's just going to a friend's house or having a bug out survival retreat where you got guard towers and barbed wire and all that other nonsense. So whatever it is that you plan to do, have a plan for leaving your home should the integrity of your home be violated by whatever disaster has come along. So when you're looking at a bug out type bag, you're looking at basically a camping bag that's going to last you about a week. So just think of it in a mindset that I'm going to go camping for a week, and what am I going to need for that? And then you'll have pretty much what you need for a bug out bag. And you can have multiple bags. One, you need to make sure everybody's got a bag, even dogs and cats, because unless you're going to leave them to fend for themselves, you're going to take them with you. And if you take them with you, that means they have to have stuff too. Now their bag mostly will be dog food and water, but that's okay. So anybody that lives in your home, everybody needs to have some kind of bag that's got items that they're going to need if you have to leave, because if something happens and your home is destroyed, then your options are to go to some kind of relocation camp or a hotel, and your bug out bag is where you take your stuff to wherever you're going. Now, like for me, I have a secondary bag here that has a hammock set up in there because I like hammock camping. And if I can get off the ground, I'm going to do that. If I have availability for trees. If I don't, I'm not going to worry about it. But for me, if I've got a chance to lay a hammock out instead of being on the ground, I'm going to go with that. So this is a bag that can strap on to this bag or just go along with it. I'm going to set that off to the side. In here under the pack, I have this is a military issue Gore-Tex bivy bag, and this is a very lightweight sleeping bag. And it's a modular system, so I can layer things inside this. The actual system that this belongs to has 2 full sleeping bags that can go into this. So when you've got this inside 2 sleeping bags, you can actually do sub-zero sleeping. And I've done that before. And it's actually pretty comfortable and pretty warm. So, but the bivy bag itself for Texas, I'm going to be fine in just about 90% of the time out here. On the outside, I have little bungee cords, and that just for odd and end things. Bungee cords are always awesome. There's a small pocket in there. Nothing in there right now. So, I know I've showed you guys a lot of the knives, but that's not a knife. That's a knife. Actually, that's a chopper. That is for cutting trees. So when you start looking at different knives, you want one that's going to be substantial for larger work, but understand that this knife is heavy. And so if you're trying to do small work like cutting snares and trigger devices for snares, you're going to get fatigued really quick trying to maneuver a knife of this size. But, you know, I'm a military guy and we like big knives, so I got a big knife. And then inside this is one of these Altoid tins that I have configured up to a nice little survival kit. So I'll do a deal on this later, but this is a full little mini survival kit that goes on with the knife. So honestly, if I had to just go Rambo it and just have a knife, I could take this. I've got my Titan Survivor cord, and we already talked about all the things that are inside there. I've got more Survivor cord here, as well as this braided on the ferro rod is Survivor cord. So I've got plenty of cordage. I've got a lot of survival items. If I really, really had to, this alone would get me there. But again, it's big, it's heavy, it's scary. I also have a small silky saw type, and this is a saw for cutting larger branches for either creating a shelter or just getting some firewood. Folds up nice out of the way. I have another bungee in here that I use to tie down, and then the bungees can then be repurposed for sheltering. Top pocket in here. This is a military type item. It's called a Firefly. It runs off a 9-volt battery, and this one's actually an infrared. So if you're at night, you can plug it in, and any search and rescue helicopters are going to be using what's called FLIR, forward-looking infrared. And they would see this from a long distance off. But there's no visible light, so you're not going to ruining your night vision with that. So that pretty much takes care of the outer pockets. And I've removed the regular pull tabs on this and put a little mini flashlight on there. These little bite lights are just fabulous. They can lock in position, they're small, and when it comes to light and having good visibility, you just really can't beat that. Now, on the outer pockets, you can see I have a tourniquet here, and inside this pocket is my trauma kit. So I have that readily accessible on an outside pocket. On the other outside pocket, triangular bandage. I'm using it to keep the rattle out of this and to give it a snug fit. But this could be used to filter air in case of volcanic ash or explosive debris or anything that just jacks up the air quality. You could cover with that. And then this is a really good cup from a company, and it fits nicely with the water container. The water container is wide mouth, so it's easy to fill from a stream or a filtering source. You can boil your water in this to sanitize it and pour it into your cup. So you have a source of a 1 liter bottle for water. It's also 1 liter. Most of your water purification tablets are geared for 1 liter, so that's a good match. Inside this front pouch, I have the lid for the cup so that if I can boil water easier on that. Here I have a small pocket stove that it folds out. It's a metal stand-up stove that is made by the company that does those little cards that I keep in my EDC. So you could have a stand-up stove as well as different survival supplies such as small mini saws. There's some fish hooks in here, spearheads in here. There's the medical one. There's even a small little tiny fork in here. Actually, there's four tiny forks in here. So this is the Ready-Man camp stove. It is a fabulous piece of kit for compactness and just all the different things that are in there. And this was a nice little survival kit that I found. And it's got on here, again, hooks, snares, arrowheads, and a small knife and a small saw. So redundancy, you don't know if your situation's going to be more than just you, so you have enough stuff in here. In here, a small hand trowel. One of the things you have to worry about is field sanitation. You're going to poop in the woods, so you want to make sure that you have a means of digging a hole so that can be disposed of properly. Don't want to leave that kind of stuff lying around. And as well as digging for a fire pit. So you don't want too heavy. This is small, light, very lightweight. Takes a little longer, but it can be done. In here, I also have a pair of gloves because you want to be able to protect your hands. And set this stuff down to the side here. One of the top things on here is a shamag. This is something that we picked up from the Middle East, and it has so many uses. It could be a covering to keep the sun off you. It could use to filter large debris out of water. It's not going to make water safe to drink, but it'll at least get the rocks and twigs out of it. It could be used as a face mask covering for filtering the air. It actually provides a little bit of warmth. I mean, this thing is pretty good size. So, and if you really had to, you can cut it up for bandages or for fire starting. But I would choose every other option before you mess this up. Next is a little blanket. Now, with this blanket and this bivy sack, I can sleep 3 out of the 4 seasons in Texas, in our area of North Texas, without a problem. This is one of those things that it is probably the greatest creation the military ever had. And if you know a veteran, ask them what they think about their poncho liner. Us old guys, we call it poncho liner. The new kids are calling it a whoopee. But regardless, it is a fabulous piece of kit, and to me, it's the best camping blanket out there. Okay, now we're getting into the heart of your sustaining bag. This is just a odd and end bag. I'm going to put that off to the side. We're going to get to that. I have a poncho here, military poncho. Now, military poncho, poncho liner. Yes, the idea is, and you can, tie the ties that are on the corner of the poncho liner into the holes that are in the poncho, and it makes a wraparound kind of burrito sleeping bag. And if you really wanted to, we really rarely snap them in. You can snap up the sides and have a nice, tight, comfortable deal. And if you had to get out quickly, it really just unsnaps fairly quickly. But you can just wrap up in the poncho liner, and that will be incredibly warm. So the whole shelter kit is the bivy sack with the poncho liner inside it, the poncho suspended overhead as a protection from rain. So that would be your whole system that you'd need for sheltering. Okay, a hygiene kit. Don't neglect hygiene. And we're not talking anything luxurious here. We're talking toothbrush, toothpaste, some camp soap, some handy wipes, a little bit of deodorant, a little mini travel deodorant, and some chapstick. That's about it in here. But if you're going to be out for any length of time because of some kind of disaster has made your house inhabitable, and you don't have the luxury of going to a hotel, then you want to at least not be able to run off the wildlife because you're kind of funky. The next is my fire kit. And I'm going to set this sideways here so we can get a better look at the fire kit. I haven't talked about that yet, and I'll put that off to the side. So I like having things contained so that we can get to whatever item we need at that time. Now, right up front, I have a very powerful 7 magnification lens that can be used to start fire. Yes, I have a lighter. The lighters can break, they can run out of gas. They're only good for so many lights. I have ferro rods where I can strike a spark off of them. I have other items that can generate a source of ignition. This costs me nothing. I don't utilize any resources if I can get it started. But the sun's got to be shining, and I need absolutely dry tinder. So if you have those and you can start it without utilizing any other resources, then go with the lens. This is a ferro rod and striker that works really, really good. This one's a Gerber Strike Force, and it produces a fairly significant amount of sparking. Make sure I don't set anything on fire before getting a fire initiated. It's a little bulkier than some of the others, but again, it works really, really good. It's worth the wait to me. These are little campfire pellet starting deals. It's a compressed cotton with wax. The wax prevents the cotton from burning up too fast, and so you take one of these, you fray it up so that you can get the oxygen circulating. If you remember during the fire lecture that you need a source of fuel and you need oxygen. So you take these, you shred them up a bit so you got oxygen can roll through them, and then you give it a source of ignition like this and it'll catch really pretty readily. I also have some cotton batting just in case this isn't going, then I know this will. It's got nothing to slow it down, so this will get going pretty quickly. I have a small candle, because if I'm going to start with my Bic lighter, I can use a candle for light. I can light the candle, set it up. I can also use the candle to dry out tinder, because it has a sustained flame. It can dry out the tinder till I get it going, and then move that into my Kindle bundle. Then I have one of these really cool things, and you cut off a little piece of this. It's kind of like a accelerant-infused waxed rope, and you just cut a piece of this, shrivel it up, and it takes the spark really well, works wet, and you just have an incredible luck with that. That is a really good means of having, and again, have redundancy, because sometimes you think everything's going to work out right, and it just doesn't. This is a small metal tin that seals up pretty good, and I punctured a hole in the top of it. And as you can tell, it's been on the fire. This is what's creating what's called char cloth. And as the name states, it is charred cloth. So within this char cloth kit, I also have some waxed shredded jute. I have matches. I have a lighter. I have some more little jute. I also have flint. Let me get the piece of flint out here. I have flint here, and I have steel, so I can strike a spark with the flint and steel. This has a divot cut into it, and it's used for a bow drill, which we'll talk about in the fire lecture, so that I can hold that and actually utilize a bow drill. But the main purpose of this tin, other than carrying all this other stuff, is that I've taken a pair of denim jeans and I cut them up into squares. And then I stacked the squares, probably had 15, 20 squares in here, and then close the tin up, set it on the fire. And you started seeing gas escape out of the top. You take a lighter, you light that gas, and just like on the gas exhaust of natural gas production pipes, it's got the flame coming out the end, this will do the same thing. So you light that, and as long as that flame is coming out, you know you're burning off impurities from the material. When that flame stops, you take the tin, carefully, because it's hot, off the fire and let it cool, and what you will get is this blackened cloth that takes a spark incredibly well. So if you're doing your flint and steel, you literally set the flint on top of this char cloth and you strike it, and an ember falls onto this, it'll start smoldering. So it's a really good way of using if you're having any trouble getting things to start, then the char cloth is certainly a great way to go. Which way do I prefer more? I prefer a lighter with dry tinder because it's quick and easy. But if I don't have those, it's good to have additional options for that. And of course, you have to repack everything so that it fits. And we'll cover more about this into the fire lecture. Okay, moving on. So food is important. You can last weeks without food, but it's rough. And if you're having to move you and family during a disaster, you need the calories. So one way to get in that is the military MRE. So it's a meal ready to eat. This one is pretty decent. It's a chicken and egg noodle and a vegetable sauce. It's got roughly about 10 to 15,000 calories. I mean, they're very calorie dense. They don't really taste all that bad, and they last for like 5 years shelf life. Freeze-dried food, this stuff will last for like 25 years. It's incredible how long this lasts. Does require a lot of water. This, a little bit of water, this, an incredible amount of water. So if water is a limited resource, this is not the way to go. A great option is these lifeboat rations. Again, they are dry compressed, so each bar, and there's 6 bars in here, each bar gives you 400 calories, 51 carbs, and 19 fat. So you're getting a lot of what you need with this, and at 4 bars, one of these will last you at least a couple days. So it's set to be a 2,400 calorie pack. Stretch out as long as you need to. In here, I also have another fixed blade knife, again, saying that that first knife was a little too big for some of the finer work, so a little fixed blade knife in there. Then I have an item that's generally not carried in a lot of people's bags, but for me it just kind of makes sense, and that is a small 22 caliber rifle. This one is done by Henry Arms, and everything packs into the back end of this, and it gives you a small 22 caliber semi-automatic rifle that you could use for catching small game. Water is one of your primary kits, and in here I have 2 backup bags for the mini filter squeeze. So I have a Sawyer filter and 2 64-ounce, I think these are 64-ounce. No, these are 32-ounce, so 2 32-ounce bags that will go with my Sawyer mini filter. You guys know how I feel about Sawyer. I love their stuff. I do not work for them. I don't get any kickback from them. But they do make really, really good equipment. This next bag has a little cheap poncho up front. And a small light with the battery out of the light, but because this bag may sit for quite a while. So this is a pretty good little, and I like flashlights that all take the same battery, so all my flashlights take AAAs, so I don't have to have a plethora of different batteries. And there are a lot of very good rechargeable AAAs, and I have means of creating energy and getting AAAs. So this is my navigation kit and my signaling kit. I have a very good lensetic compass here that has another magnifying, which can be used for fire starting, and it also has a grid marker on the side, so that will come in for map reading. I have a very large signaling panel. If I'm not hiding from zombies and I've been hurt and I'm trying to be found, I want something that's going to be visible from a distance. And so this is something I could use to mark my location. I have a map of the general area that we live in, and this is done as a military topographical map by a company called MyTopo. That's MYTOPO, and they literally will make a map of any area at any scale that you want. And since I'm most familiar with the military grid reference system, that's the one I asked for, and they produced the map, not a problem. And then another weatherproof notepad, a couple mechanical pencils. With my larger kit, I use a Raleigh McNan Road Atlas because it covers the entire U.S., wherever I'm going, and it gives me a really detailed map. So that is my navigation and signaling kit. One item I might put in here is a small little set of mini pin flares. And this is just an odd and end bag. I have some micro cordage. It's very thin. It's not going to be really weight bearing, but it is good for lashing things. I have some bank line, which is a little stronger than the micro cord. This amount generally good for building shelters. A little roll of Gorilla tape and a roll of gaffer's tape. And I'm not really sure, I may scale this down and understand that when you're putting these kits together, look at what information is out there on the internet. There's a gazillion different people out there showing what they put in their kits. Watch them and see which ones make sense for you and add those to your kit. I've thrown these in there and I'm thinking, well, you know, it's not really that bad, but if I need to slim it down, I can just roll these up without the cardboard insert because that's just dead space. Then if you're going to have an EDC tin or a survival tin, I don't think of a better tin than the Bob Ross Happy Little Trees tin. So in here I've got a fishing kit. Again, gaffer's tape, you can take it on and off without leaving a lot of residue. So in this kit, I have little lights that can be attached to the line so you can fish in the dark. I have line, bobbers, some lures, some eye hooks. We talked about what use you can have for eye hooks. Just a lot of little things in my Bob Ross survival kit. And for those who didn't know, Bob Ross is a oil painter that had a marvelous TV show about teaching people. He's probably one of the mellowest people you'd ever hope to meet. And he was a veteran. I think he Air Force. So in here I also have some copper wire for use for making snares. And since I'm not a huge herbalist and botanist, I have this really great bandana scarf from a company called Wazoo Survival Gear, W-A-Z-O-O. And they got with a person who is a herbalist and botanist and naturalist healer, and they have all the different plants, what they're used for, not all of the plants, but they have a wide assortment of wild plants, what they're used for, medicinal, food, what could be used as a tea for fire starting, what could be used for cordage. A lot of information on this one little cloth that you kind of need a bandana anyway, so why not get one that has an entire foraging survival handbook printed on it with pictures. So in the back here, in the back zipper compartment, I have a Camelback so that as I fill purify the water, I can fill it into a Camelback. And I have a couple really large, very thick trash bags that have just a multitude of uses, and we'll get into that into a later class. So this is my bug out. This is what I could stay a week out in the woods with very little problem. And actually with my skill set, because of my background, I could extend that even further. So you're limited by your knowledge, go learn more. You're limited by your experience, go do more. You're limited by your equipment, go find out what you need, what works for you. And if you have questions, reach out to experts and get their advice, and then go put it into practice, see if it works for you. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.